Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're all having a great day. So, I've had some interesting things to say on this channel about car companies from Ford to Chevy to Tesla to Mercedes, and I mean, you can probably guess which comments that I've made have gotten some of the most pushback. Which group of vehicle owners amongst these have been the most vocal in being angry at me? I'll leave you to guess. But I wanted to go over this one study here that I read on my live channel because this is something that was brought up in my comments many times, which is, if I criticize this brand of vehicles, it may result in less people buying them. And one of the arguments made is that if less people buy them, then it is because I want people to die. Because autopilot is so much safer than a human driver, that means that if less people buy it because they are turned off because of something in my video, they're more likely to purchase another brand of vehicle and therefore more likely to die. Now, I don't really have a problem. I honestly really don't care what it is you choose to drive. You don't have to justify your decision to me in any way, shape, or form. But I've always found that line of logic to be absolutely effing ridiculous. But regardless of the fact that I have personally seen a Tesla take the wrong lane in a two-way street and almost wind up on the wrong side of the road and navigate on autopilot, or that this car will actually navigate itself to a gas station. I digress. I thought we would just check out what it says in this study. So what they did here is they took all of the information that they could possibly find, and I went over this on my live channel in great detail. I'm not going to bore you to death with that. And what they did is they normalized it by the type of road and the age of the driver. There are different accident rates amongst different ages of different drivers. You might imagine that somebody who's, let's say, 16 and just got their license might be more likely to get into a car accident than somebody who's 40 who has been driving for over 20 years. You also may imagine that there may be more crashes and more incidents on something like driving through Brooklyn or Manhattan, where everybody is a lunatic, than some freeway or route in the middle of nowhere. Also, autopilot doesn't really work well in Manhattan, so you're not as likely to have it on here as you are on some route or freeway in the middle of nowhere. So what they did here is they tried to normalize the information to try to get a better idea of what is going on with the crash figure. Now, when you have unadjusted data, you have the line that you see over here, autopilot unadjusted, and you have considerably less crashes per 100 million miles than the baseline over here, which is active safely only road adjusted, which is the dashed line. However, when you adjust the data by age and by road, you end up with a line over here that's much closer. Now, to be fair to Tesla, and to be fair to autopilot, it is still in many cases, at least over the past year and a half, safer. However, a long time ago, you actually had a higher rate of crashes with autopilot off than you did with autopilot on. So if you're like right over here at this point in Q2 of 2019, if you were just driving your car normally, you had a lower crash rate than people up here who were using autopilot when you adjust for road and age. There were other points made here that I thought were interesting that people thought were biased, which is when you're adjusting for age, on average, the people who are younger are not going to be people who are using autopilot because people who are younger tend to not be able to afford a car that starts at $40,000 to $70,000. It was only recently that the Model 3 came out as a more, quote, budget option. And even that, quote, budget option starts around $40,000. If you're 16 or 17 and you just got your license, most likely you're driving a 1995 Honda Civic. You're not driving a 2021 Tesla Model 3. Even if we're talking about getting a used Tesla, a used working one, because of the way those cars depreciate or seemingly don't depreciate, you can find a 2014 Model S and it's still going for well over $25,000 to $35,000. So when you're talking about people who are younger, who tend to have less money than people who are older because they've spent less time in their life on average collecting wealth and making money, they tend to be people who are driving other brands of vehicles, and also because they're younger and they've had less time on the road, they tend to get into more accidents than people who are more experienced drivers. So when you actually adjust for the road type and the age, what you'll see in this study is that the difference between autopilot and you just driving your own car is far less than what Tesla would want you to think. Again, to be clear and to be fair to Tesla, the autopilot does appear, even after being road and age adjusted, over the past 2 years to be safer, less crashes per 100 million miles than you simply driving your own car. But it is not even close to what it is that Tesla will tell you over here. Now, they admit that they did not have access to every single piece of data. It says we don't have actual mileage type, as Tesla won't release it, so they've used what data is available. And I will link to this down below for any of you to read if you're interested in this. This was put together here by the Virginia Transportation Research Council and Noah Goodall, and good on him for doing this amount of research to try to come to a conclusion here, or get to the bottom of what it is that's going on. What do you think in the comments down below? Do you think autopilot actually is, on aggregate, twice as safe as driving your own car? Do you think that it is barely any different than driving your own car? Or do you think that it's actually worse? I also kind of find it interesting that, this is a complete aside, that when J-Pow was hiking interest rates and the stocks were tanking, that's the exact same time that people were getting into more car accidents back here. It makes me wonder if people were looking at their portfolio while driving and then smashing themselves into a light pole. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.